Hello everyone, and welcome to Second Viewings, the show where I take a look back at movies I watched for the first time back in 2018 to 2021 and see how they hold up on rewatch. How far are you willing to go to achieve perfection? This is the question that Nina Sayers, the protagonist of Darren Aronofsky's Black Swan, grapples with. When a ballet troupe is putting on a production of Swan Lake, prim and innocent Nina really wants the lead role of the Swan Queen. But in order to achieve it, she must not only play the part of the pure, innocent white swan, but also bring out her inner dark side to play the more sinister black swan. This results in Nina slowly losing her grip on reality, as she deals with her overbearing mother, a potential rival, a skeevy dance instructor, and a former dancing star, all of whom push her to an eventual breaking point. When I first watched this movie, I remember enjoying a lot of the technical aspects of it, like the cinematography, the limited color palette, and of course the performances, but I couldn't really get into the story all that much. I found it a bit pretentious and trying way too hard to be shocking at points. I enjoyed this movie a lot technically, but couldn't really take the writing all that seriously. Looking back though, I did find more to appreciate from a writing perspective. Let's get one of the biggest positives out of the way. Natalie Portman's performance as Nina is incredible. She won an Oscar for this movie, and while I don't really take those kinds of award shows that seriously, it was nice that she got some well-deserved recognition on such a large scale. She fully embodies someone who had been sheltered her whole life, and the movie never feels the need to outright say her character is sheltered. It's all in the way Portman plays it. While she may be the star of the show, the rest of the actors aren't to be overlooked. One that I feel doesn't get nearly enough attention is Barbara Hershey as Nina's mother. She perfectly straddles that line of someone who appears to be a caring, supportive mother figure, but there's just something about her that's kinda off. It isn't until much later, though, we see just how smothering and controlling she is, and how she played a huge part in shaping Nina into the person she wound up being. As I alluded to at the beginning, this film has a lot to say about how far people are willing to push themselves to achieve perfection. I especially like this one shot where we see the heavily damaged feet of some practicing dancers. No need to over-explain here, just one image and you instantly get how dedicated these dancers are to their craft, even if it comes at the cost of their own health and well-being, an idea that's only expanded upon as the film progresses. This might sound like a weird compliment, but this has some of the best camera movements I've ever seen in a movie. They could have just shot the dancing scenes in a very standard way, but Aronofsky and cinematographer Matthew Libatique got creative and had the camera constantly spinning around Nina as she's spinning, not only putting you in her shoes, but creating this intentionally disorienting, uncomfortable feel that permeates throughout the film. I especially love this one shot where the camera zips between Nina and the dance instructor so quickly as he's giving instructions, because that's all she can focus on, so therefore, that's all we, the audience, are focusing on. Like I said before, I love the muted color palette. This being a movie that deals with having a light and dark side, there's naturally going to be a lot of black and white used throughout. And while the color symbolism isn't the deepest thing in the world, they make for a unique, striking visual style. I especially like the sparing use of pink for Nina's innocence. The muted colors also make moments of bright red like blood or Nina's eyes once she completes her Black Swan transformation all the more striking. Speaking of blood, whenever this movie does get graphic, it never comes off as them just trying to be shocking for the sake of it. Throughout the film, we see these scars on Nina's back that progressively look worse. We're not explicitly told at first what's causing this, and as the film goes on, there are other instances of Nina partially mutilating parts of her body, including this one scene involving her fingers that got a genuine, visceral reaction out of me. And I think the reason for that is because of how sparingly these moments are done, on top of some really impressive effects. We're then shown that one moment didn't actually happen and was just in Nina's imagination. Which brings me to talk about the non-literal aspects of the film. The movie opens with a brief dream sequence of Nina playing the part of the Swan Queen in this black void with no other people around her other than the character of Rothbart, the villain of the ballet. This to me reads as Aronofsky telling us not to take everything we see at face value because the story is being told from Nina's point of view. said point of view gets more and more fractured as the film progresses. This especially gets interesting when a new dancer named Lily enters the picture. She's a lot more carefree and rebellious, so naturally you'd think she's meant to be seen as Nina's rival who tries to sabotage her in order to get her role in the show. And while that's definitely how Nina sees her, and probably not the actual case, the movie still never outright explicitly states any of her true intentions. In terms of what didn't work for me, I found the scenes where Nina sees glimpses of her doppelganger all dressed in black to be way too on the nose. I like that we see that towards the beginning of the movie because it hints at the idea that Nina has always had this dark side to her. But then this doppelganger pops up a few more times, one time of which in this scene in a bathtub that just looked like something from a cliched horror movie. Speaking of on the nose, I really couldn't take the moments of Nina literally transforming into a swan seriously. I respect the bold swing, the effects are pretty well done, and I like the more subtle moments of it, like those aforementioned scars on her back which turn out to be wings. But moments like her feet becoming webbed and especially her neck elongating were just way too silly in how they were shown. I'd also like to point out that those scenes of Nina picking up the scars on her back and seeing feathers kind of reminded me of that one scene in X-Men The Last Stand where young Angel was trying to rip off his wings. Could you imagine if Aronofsky watched that scene as inspiration for this? That'd be funny. Speaking of this movie being eerily similar to another, yeah, I guess I should address this elephant in the room, huh? So, there's some controversy surrounding this movie about whether or not it ripped off Satoshi Kon's 1997 film Perfect Blue, another movie about someone who wants to make it in the entertainment industry and slowly loses her grip on reality in her pursuit of success. I'm not going to pretend like I know the whole story or that I knew what was going on in Aronofsky's head when he made this movie, but as someone who's seen both, I wouldn't go as far as to call it a ripoff because I think both films are tonally and thematically different enough to stand on their own. Perfect Blue deals much more heavily with the price of fame in the form of a stalker character who tries to live vicariously through our lead, while Black Swan deals more with the dark length someone is willing to go to achieve what, in their eyes, is perfection. With that said, some of the visual and story similarities are difficult to deny. Even so, it doesn't distract from my experience with the film at all. I still think it's a wonderfully crafted movie with some silly, unsubtle nonsense that made it difficult for me to take it completely seriously, but those moments are few and far between. I still recommend this movie if you haven't already seen it. Well, it took a little while, but I finally got to talk about a good movie on this series, meaning it should be smooth sailing. For now. Anyway, that's all for now. Tune in next time where we take a little trip, or rather a few different trips, through the old American West. Take care.